All right, let's dive into one of the most detailed and, frankly, awe-inspiring visions in the entire Bible. We're talking about the prophet Ezekiel's blueprint for a new temple. But this isn't just about architecture. You'll see it's a blueprint for hope itself.
So imagine this. Your whole world has been shattered. Your holiest, most sacred place is gone, burned to the ground. How do you even begin to hope again? Well, for the Jewish exiles stuck in Babylon, Ezekiel's vision was the answer. It was their lifeline.
To really feel the weight of this, you have to get the timeline. In 587 BC, Jerusalem falls. The temple is destroyed. And then, silence. For 14 long years, the exiles are living with nothing but that memory of ashes. 14 years of wondering if God had completely forgotten them. And then, in 573 BC, everything changes.
Now here's what's so wild. This wasn't Ezekiel's first vision of the temple. The first one, back in chapters 8 through 11, was a complete nightmare. He saw a defiled building and God's glory literally packing up and leaving the city. But this new vision, it's the polar opposite. It's a total reset, focused on salvation, a brand new beginning, and a powerful promise that God was coming back.
So, the vision kicks off with Ezekiel being transported to a super high mountain back in Israel. And there, laid out before him, is this massive structure. It's so huge it looks like an entire city. And that's when he meets his tour guide. And this is no ordinary guide. The man is described as shining like polished bronze. And he's holding the tools of the trade, a linen cord, for the long measurements, and a measuring reed for the smaller stuff. His entire job is to meticulously measure every single part of this new temple. And the scale of this place, wow, it is just staggering. The angel starts by measuring the outer wall, and when he's done, the area it encloses is a perfect square that covers 17 acres. So, 17 acres? What does that even mean? Well, to put that in perspective, we're talking about the size of 13 American football fields. So yeah, this isn't some small chapel. This is a monumental complex, a grand statement about God's holiness. And that massive outer wall, standing over 10 feet high, it had one simple but profound purpose: to draw a massive, unmissable line in the sand. On this side, it's holy. On that side, it's common. And this theme of holiness and separation is absolutely central to the whole vision.
The coolest part is how the architecture itself tells a story. Moving through this place isn't just walking. It's a journey. It's a physical climb towards God's presence, with each level getting holier and holier. Let's see how that journey unfolds.
This lays it out perfectly. You start outside on common ground. Then you climb 7 steps into the outer court. From there, it's another 8 steps up into the inner court. And for the grand finale, 10 more steps take you up to the temple building itself. You're literally ascending toward God.
And the layout enforces all this separation. See, the outer court is for the people, but only the priests can go into the inner court where the great altar is. And guarding the way are these enormous gatehouses. They're basically giant spiritual security checkpoints, making sure everyone stays in their designated space. Okay, so after touring the courts, the angelic guide brings Ezekiel to the main event, the absolute heart of the vision, the center of all this holiness, the temple building itself.
The building has 3 main parts, and each one gets progressively more sacred. You walk in through a porch, then into the main room called the nave, or the holy place. And since Ezekiel is a priest, he's allowed in there. But then, there's that final room.
And this part is so powerful. To show just how sacred this final room is, even Ezekiel, the prophet who's receiving the vision, is told he can't go inside. The angel goes into the most holy place all by himself to measure it. It's a space so holy it's beyond human reach, a symbol of God's pure, transcendent presence.
So you might be thinking, why all the architectural details? Why chapters and chapters of measurements? Because for the people who first heard this, it wasn't a boring list. It was music. It was hope made tangible.
And that's the key takeaway, right there. This was never meant to be a literal set of building plans. It was a theological promise. Every single measured wall, every gate was like God saying, I have not abandoned you. I am coming back, and we will have a future together.
To really understand the longing in their hearts, you just have to listen to their songs. The book of Psalms is just overflowing with this deep, aching homesickness for this place of connection with God, a connection that had been violently ripped away.
Can you just imagine being in exile, feeling this way for years, and then hearing Ezekiel describe this new, perfect dwelling place?
Every detail would have felt like a direct answer to prayers just like this one. See, Ezekiel's vision wasn't just about a building. It was about restoring this experience, the joyful crowds, the festivals, the songs. It was a promise to turn their saddest memories into a future celebration. So this vision, it was a massive dose of hope for the exiles, no doubt. But for us, reading it today, it leaves us with a really fascinating and kind of complex question to chew on. And it all comes down to this. If the Bible's grand finale, the vision Revelation, shows us a new Jerusalem that has no temple at all, because God's presence is so complete it's everywhere, then what are we to make of Ezekiel's incredibly detailed blueprint? It's a powerful reminder, I think, that God's promises often unfold in ways we just don't see coming.